Oh, we're live. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or afternoon for some of you. Welcome to our blah, blah, blah. I can't talk now. Our UFC Brisbane Pre-Fight Show. My name is Eddie Law. That's Jesse Rubalcaba, and we're here to break down these fights, ladies and gentlemen. So first, before we start, though, let's talk about a few fights here, because a second ago, before we started we even started the show right now, we were talking Uriah Hall against Anderson Silva, and how our boy Nick Pilecki's going to have to just start crying now because we think Anderson's going to get smoked. What do you think happened? You think that fight goes all the way to decision, or you think someone gets knocked out or finished?
Man, I think we were talking about this the other day on our Spanish show, and I was saying that the problem is that we could either get one of two fights. Number one is we're gonna get a really exciting striker versus striker, high level, just awesome offense from both guys, you know,
Yeah.
or we're gonna get the very, very boring, tentative fight because both guys really like to counter strike.
Mhm.
And they like to make sure that the other guy makes the first move, and then they go off of that. And we all know Anderson Silva is the most patient dude in the world. He'll sit back and not do anything for a whole freaking 5 rounds.
Oh yeah.
So we might be in Crapsville for having put those two guys together. But I mean, hopefully Chael Sonnen gets in Uriah Hall's ear and pumps up his ego and gets him in there, and he goes forward, really puts on a show. And I'm sorry, Nick. I'm a big Anderson fan as well. We were talking about how, he's one of the guys that I really wish I would have seen live.
Hmm.
And I had a chance to go see him when he was in Vegas, fighting in Vegas, but I just didn't take that shot. But yeah, I don't think he's got a shot in this fight.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and we were talking about it too. Like, there's a list of guys that you wish you would have been able to see before they finish, and he's one of those guys. If he fights one more time after this and it's in Vegas, I'm gonna be taking a shot to go too. I mean, you gotta. I like seeing greatness live. You know what I mean? You can see
Yeah.
this human at one point was considered the best on the planet. You know what I mean? So like that's how I felt when I watched Michael Jordan as a little kid, right before he retired and all that shit. So yeah. All
Well,
right, how about this? Oh, what's up?
even guys that are on the brink of being great, when I saw Cain Velasquez fight against Bigfoot Silva, that
Yeah.
was like a brutal beating that I will never forget, man. That dude
Yeah.
put on a just spectacular show. And then Junior Dos Santos when he defended his title against Frank Mir that night, man. Both of those guys, you just knew that they were gonna have an epic fight the next time they met, and it was. I mean, two fights, after that, it was two good fights. So.
Yeah. No, definitely. Now, what do you think about this UFC 200 stuff? McGregor versus Diaz too is supposedly rumored to be worked on. My opinion. I go with my opinion real quick. I think it's bad. Okay. If I'm in the mindset of what's fair and what makes sense and actually giving a shit about rankings and stuff like that and championships, it's the wrong fight. You have to go defend your
Hmm.
belt, right? I think if they actually do this fight, McGregor needs to drop his belt. He's got to vacate. You can't hold up a division that long. You know what I mean? And I think the belt should be up for grabs between Aldo and Edgar at some point. But if I'm thinking like the UFC's thinking, damn right, make that money, big huge fight. Now, what do you think about the fight, about the possibility of that fight going down?
Um, I like it and I hate it at the same time. I like it because we'll get to see both guys really train for each other
Mhm.
and really see what they can both do. And I think that would be at 155, right? At lightweight, right? That's where they
That's
would fight
the
at.
rumor that it'd be 155. I don't think Conor wants to fight at 170 Nate Diaz even on 10 days notice.
I think I forget who it was. I think it was Luke Thomas that said that the big thing that he noticed is that when people don't cut weight, they have worse performance. The reason is because they don't do that extra cardio to cut the weight. They don't
Yeah.
do that extra stuff to get to weight. And I think that might have been a big problem for Connor too. He didn't have that extra discipline that he normally does to get that weight down. And I think we might see a different fight. Maybe goes a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm not really sure that we'll see any different of a result. I think Nate Diaz has his number. I think he knows how much power Connor can throw out, and I think he's those type of guys that eats 20 of those shots, hits you with three of his, and your world's all kinds of you're on Queer Street before you know it, and then you're
Mhm.
on the floor tapping out.
Yeah, no, and before this last fight, before their only fight so far, I remember I kept saying like that extra weight's gonna fuck with Connor's cardio, and people were like,
Hmm.
"Why?" And I'm like, "That's extra weight. Your blood has to pump harder to move that extra size and weight. It's not, his cardio doesn't fucking translate from the 145 to 170. That's not gonna translate. You know what I mean? Nate Diaz
Yeah.
has cardio from other things. Now he wasn't in fight shape. It was quite obvious. He was in fight shape. That first round would he probably would have won it then, right? I think, but.
Maybe.
Um, maybe, yeah, maybe. But he coming off a boat ride in Cabo, taking tequila shots and shit, and and still being able to do what he did. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to even do it, even be even more convincing or have more of a convincing win, right? If with a full training
Yeah.
camp. Like I fully believe him when he said, "Hey, look, I didn't have a full training camp, so that first round was just kind of like let's just find out about him and see what's up." And then when second round, once he knew what Connor had, just like you said, Connor hit him with that left hand. He knows how hard Connor hits. He knows how he throws and when he throws now. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
Nate now knows what he has to do. So look, if they make that fight, I don't like it. I don't. Just like you said, I hate it and I like it at the same time. I like it because Nate Diaz and screw it. Let's see both guys in full training camps for each other. But I hate it because that 145 division is probably gonna get held up, unless Connor drops that belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
but
think he
I
should.
mean, you gotta be happy for Nate Diaz too, because if he
Oh, for
gets this
sure. He's
shot
getting
at another
paid.
big paycheck,
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, be happy for that guy because he's been grinding away,
Hmm.
just putting in the time and being called like crap, like not a needle mover and stuff like that. When he is a needle mover, he is a fan favorite. He's a guy that most people want to see because he makes fights exciting.
Hmm.
His trash talking, his bravado in the octagon, all that stuff. It makes it worth watching.
Yep.
And honestly, I think we were talking about that. Like, if he has to drop the title, Connor, I think he holds on to his title and sees what happens. If he's able to beat Nate Diaz at 155, then maybe he'll drop his title to go fight RDA for the title.
Hmm.
But I think he'll keep his title just in case, as kind of an insurance policy of like, okay, I can still, cash those big checks because I'm still the champion at 145. I think if he can beat Nate, then he'll be like, oh, okay, I don't want to drop back down to 145. I'm cool here. I'll challenge for the title and I'll just dominate a different division.
Yeah, and the thing, and I get what you're saying, I really do. Especially, and I'm definitely happy for Nate Diaz. If he gets under the payday, he deserves it, 100%. But, it's just I really don't like that holding up the 145 division. Now, if Nate beats him, and he just goes back, I'm still champion at 145. I'm like, yeah, but you're on a two-fight losing streak. There's no other champion that's done that. You know what I mean? That's still
Yeah.
champion. You just kind of lucked out because the UFC is going to let you fight at 155, 170, whatever the fight ends up being. It's going to be 155. Let's be real, probably 155. Um, but yeah, man, I don't know. I had one more
Plus, look
thing
at
I
all the
can
other
think.
divisions that have been held up by champions that like are injured or are trying to do other things. I mean, we have right now the 115. What is it? Strawweight women's is being
Yeah,
held up because both of the chicks are being on a tough show. The heavyweight
yeah,
championship is was kind of being held up by one guy. Then
one guy.
it got defended, and now it's being held up again. Like these championships, we're always in this constant like something's being held up because of some
Hmm.
reason. So I guess he kind of can't hate the fact that Connor is doing that.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think the thing that we all kind of hate is the fact that he's fighting. And we
yeah,
want to see him defend the title against the people that deserve that title shot.
yeah. Like I said, the first two you were right. The first one you were talking about right now, obviously the girls are gonna be doing tough. And then the heavyweight was held up because of injury. You know what I mean? And what Kane almost got stripped. He showed up to that fight and got beat. Right now, Verdum's hurt. Getting held up again. Finally gonna fight against Stipe. I think in a month or two. I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah,
but this one's just getting held up because Connor feels like fighting a bigger guy.
yeah,
And it's kind of like if you're on a pond and there's rocks on the way to the other side, you're not taking your foot off that one until you hit the other one, right? That's kind of what he's doing.
yeah.
And if you hit, and if he gets, he beats Nate Diaz, that foothold is good. He gets beat by Nate Diaz, that foothold sunk. He's just back to 145, no problem. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now the fucked up thing for Connor is if he loses to Nate Diaz, goes to 145, and then loses there, game over. That's it.
Yeah.
Goodbye
But see
payday.
that
Goodbye all that shit.
that's I think when he takes the Jose Aldo fight to really give himself that cushion of beating somebody that he's already beat,
Yeah.
give himself that out. I think poor Frank. I think the loser in all this is Frankie Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that's probably going to end up
100%.
in all of this.
100%. He's getting screwed. He's getting screwed out of a title shot again. And and even if they weren't going to give McGregor Nate Diaz, the Aldo fight's a likely fight, and then Frankie gets screwed again. So that really, really sucks. You think Frankie can make 135? He probably can, right?
Yeah, he can. I mean, he makes 145 real easily.
Yeah.
When I met him, he wasn't a big guy. He's not like a really stocky big guy. He looks like if he missed a meal, he'd probably hit 145 real easily, run a little bit, So I think if he makes that hard weight cut, he's a wrestler. I'm pretty sure he used to do those hard weight cuts anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably drop down to 135 real easily and do pretty well at that weight.
Be a better fight than fucking Faber or Cruz. I'll tell you that much. So anyway, I'm still annoyed by that. The fact that Faber got another title shot. Another title shot. How many do you have to lose before they're like?
Okay, wait. But he deserves the title shot. Does he not?
Fuck out. No.
Does he not?
Now, part of it might be
what's his win streak at?
I'm looking it up right now. But part of it might be because I really don't like the kind of guy he comes off as being. But that being said ahead of time is a disclaimer. Okay. Let's see who he's beat. Hold up. Pulling up Sherdog here. All right. 1 fight winning streak. So he won against Frankie Saenz in December.
Right.
Lost to Frankie Edgar. And then 2 fight winning streak between Francisco Rivera and Alex Caceres. Lost to Barao in a title fight.
Right.
He had 4 in a row in 2013. He doesn't deserve a title shot.
How does he not deserve a title shot though?
It's been 3 years.
Oh, come on. The Barao fight, it was what, like 2 weeks notice?
Okay, still a title shot.
Still though. He's beaten the guys that are like coming up in the division, and he's dominated most of them. Like pretty well handedly.
Yeah, but they're all second level fighters, dude.
Point to another guy that deserves a title shot, and don't say TJ because he does not deserve a title shot.
No, he doesn't deserve a title shot. Although the fight was close-ish. You know what I mean? A lot of people were like, "Oh, super close, could have gone either way." I'm like, no, it couldn't. Dominic Cruz didn't get hit. He didn't land on Dominic, so that was a beatdown. That was a unanimous decision. There was no controversy. You know what I mean?
No, and TJ never adjusted his game plan. He just kept trying to hit him in the face. And that's his problem.
He did what Conor tried to do to Nate. Try to knock him out. That's what he did.
Yeah, he wanted to shut him up. Yeah.
He tried to knock him out, and that was the wrong thing to do. So now, TJ fucking saw it, now Conor knows it. You can't just be trying to go for home run hits in the first round. You know what I mean? And so I don't know what the hell TJ was thinking. So we got TJ, Renan Barradas moved to 45, Uriah Faber, Rafael Assunção. It'd be too early for Aljamain Sterling, I think, for a title shot.
He just got re-signed too.
Yeah, he just got re-signed. Although I wonder if there's anything in that contract that says, "Hey, title shot soon" or something.
Probably. Maybe like 1 fight and then a title shot.
Yeah, Thomas Almeida's gonna fight. Thomas Almeida's gonna fight No Love, from what I heard.
Right.
Which is fucking an awesome fight, by the way. Super stoked for that fight. It's gonna be so good. Brian Caraway's in there somewhere. Takeya Mizugaki, Johnny Eduardo, Jimmy Rivera. Okay, you kind of got a point. Who do you throw in there?
Yeah.
God damn it. Fuck it.
Bam.
Pay John Moraga money to move up to 35 and give him another shot.
Come on. John Moraga's power won't carry over. And didn't he get beat by Barao or one of those guys?
No. John Moraga fought. He's at 125er.
I thought he fought at 135 at one point, though, didn't he?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. I have to look that up. But anyway, all right.
Well, Mexican, confusing him with another Mexican, probably. They all look alike.
John Moraga, we all look alike. That's what it is. All right, dude, let's talk about this card, man. All right, UFC Fight Night, whatever number they're giving it, 80 some shit or other. It is.
Yep.
It's basically
85.
UFC 85. All right, 85. So it's UFC Fight Night, Hunt versus Mir. Heavyweight, obviously the heavyweight collision at the top of the card. But UFC Fight Pass prelims kick off in about 3 hours. So that's 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, with Alan Patrick and Damian Brown. Now, from what I've seen of Damian Brown's a ground guy. Damian Brown actually has solid takedowns. They're not bad. I was talking to other people and they were like, "Oh, Damian Brown, I saw stuff on YouTube. He's whack." I'm like, "No, he's not. His takedowns are solid." And you know, against somebody that's not at least decent on the ground, they're not going to see his takedowns coming. If Alan Patrick doesn't know how to what to tell us for a takedown, he's gonna get taken down. The only thing is this though, I think Alan Patrick's stand-up game is good enough to avoid it. He's a quick guy. You know what I mean? Especially for a lightweight, he's still a pretty even quicker guy. So I think the fact that he's good on his feet, he should be able to hold out for a decision. I don't think he's gonna knock him out because Damian Brown's a tough dude from what I've heard and read and all that. But this fight's not gonna go to the ground. I don't think. I think Alan Patrick's gonna be able to avoid takedowns and just score points and hold on for a win. What do you got in this fight? Who are you picking?
Man, this is a tough fight. I mean, both guys coming in here, pretty good records. For being basically like prospects. What we're looking at is prospects here. I think the biggest problem for me in not being able to pick Damian Brown is the fact that this is his first fight in the UFC. At least we've had Alan Patrick win in the UFC and also lose in the UFC. He has one loss in the UFC, and that was his only loss via TKO against Taisumov or something like that, right?
Yeah, Taisumov. Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, I think it's Taisumov. He has a loss to Marbek. He has that loss to Taisumov.
And he's beaten, in my opinion, a good competitor in John Makdessi.
Oh, Makdessi's a beast.
He's a durable guy. He doesn't really lose fights. He loses them by decision, and they're close decisions most of the time. He's a tough dude, and that's how he lost his fight against Alan Patrick. So there's a lot to like in Damian Brown, but there's also a lot to like in Alan Patrick. Also, he's Brazilian. He gets in there with grapplers. I don't think that Damian Brown's takedowns or jiu-jitsu is going to be anything that Alan Patrick hasn't seen before. So I think this is going to, like you said, I think this is going to be one of those that it's going to stay standing, and I think Alan Patrick's going to take this fight. I think he's going to TKO him. And again, we always talk about this every single time. Like, this card is actually one of those cards that's low key, really, really good. It's got some really good undercard fighters. Towards the top of the card, it kind of flounders a little bit, in my opinion. It has a couple fights that are kind of weird that they're so high up on the card. But if you can watch these fights, these first couple fights, they're pretty good. They're pretty evenly matched up, and I think they're going to be pretty exciting fights.
Yeah, no, definitely. And speaking of the next fight here, Ross Pearce against Chad Laprise, the two guys that are coming off losses to Francisco Trinaldo. Yep. And here's what I like about Laprise, and I'm pretty sure Laprise is on Tough, right?
I think so.
I think he was on Tough.
Tough Nations, I believe.
Yeah. He's a good boxer. He's a pretty good boxer, right? As in, he knows how to move, how to get in and out, head movement. He's got a nice right hand that he can use as a lead if he wants to. He's a good counterpuncher from what I've seen. And Ross Pearson look, people will say he's a good striker, and he's a good striker, but he's more of a brawler, I think, right? And as we've seen, brawlers who don't land big shots, and don't gas out and all that shit, which they won't gas out, but still, they're not good at dealing with boxers, with technical strikers, right? That's what Laprise is. He's a technical guy. So it's not going to go. No one's getting knocked out, I don't think. I think it'll go decision. I'd probably go with Laprise on this one. I think Ross Pearson is about to hit another 2-fight losing streak. Who you got?
I kind of agree with you, and I kind of don't. Ross Pearson, definitely when we saw him in what was it, Tough UK or whatever it was that he was on.
Yeah.
He definitely came in with that Street Fighter like style. But over his last, pretty much his career, you've seen that he's refined what he's good at, which is standing in the pocket, taking shots, and delivering good shots of his own. He fought. Didn't he fight Diego Sanchez?
Ross Pearson, yeah, Ross Pearson, and he got screwed in an awful decision, I think. Was it Houston? Whatever.
Yeah, that's the fight that really showed me how much different he's become as a fighter. He was very composed in that fight. Picked his shots, really, really put it on Diego Sanchez. The only thing that Diego Sanchez was able to do, to I guess convince his buddies to give him the win, was that he would throw flurries, and those flurries landed on his defense, on Ross Pearson's defense, which he had very good defense in that fight, and backed him up. That's the only really thing that Diego Sanchez did in that fight. The thing that I think is going to be trouble for him is the style that like someone like Paul Felder did. Paul Felder came in and really showed him just a different style of kickboxing, that karate style that Paul Felder brings, and really gave him a lot of trouble. And I think I've seen Chad Laprise really use some of his kicks and use some of his kickboxing techniques. And I think he does it way better than Ross Pearson does it. So I think that's where the problem's going to be. But I think all in all, I think Ross Pearson, he's that tough guy that knows how to get stuff done. And I think he's going to be able to really shut down what Laprise does, and I think he's going to be able to take that win. And I think that's the other fight before we started this whole thing that you wanted to talk about was the Paul Felder against somebody.
Berkman.
Josh Berkman, right?
Berkman's going to get beat. I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
What?
He's a durable guy. But look, they set him up because Paul Felder. Look, it's going to be a Paul Felder knockout win. I'm telling you right now. Okay?
Don't say that.
I'm saying that. I already said it. I don't care.
I'm just saying.
Look, I don't even dislike. Look, there's nothing about Josh Berkman that I actually dislike other than his awful nickname. But, hey, dude, come on, man. Come on. How lucky has he been to actually still be in the UFC?
Okay. But the problem is that, Paul Felder in his last couple of fights has disappointed me to no end because of the fact that he doesn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Look at all his fights. He doesn't pull the trigger. And he's fighting Josh Berkman, a guy who's, his livelihood, his career is on the line. That dude is going to pull the trigger. He's going to go in there. He's tough. He's going to get in his face. He's going to try to wrestle him. He's going to do everything to beat that guy. And if Paul Felder doesn't figure out how to stop, thinking about it and just let go, he's going to get beat.
Yeah. No, I mean, look. I think Paul Felder's finally realized that he needs to pull the trigger. Oh, okay, I'm hoping he is. All right, I'm a Paul Felder fan. I like the guy. I like how his fighting style.
I agree with you.
Always fun. But I just don't think. I don't know. I just think the luck is over for Berkman. I think it's over. Maybe I just want it to be over because I just feel sad watching him get beat every time. And he actually puts in good work during the fight. You know what I mean? Like he goes for it. He actually legitimately goes for it, and then just gets beat. And decisions and shit, or he gets lucky and wins. I don't even know how it is, but anyway. All right. Next fight, we get Filthy Rich Walsh against Viscardi Andrade, Brazilian against the Australian. This fight is first of all, these guys are big. I didn't realize how big they were for 170. They're large guys, right? Two big dudes. They're the same height. The reach isn't much, very different. And it's a fight that's like it's what do you call it? A fun fight? That's what they call it. What people would say it is. It's a fun fight, right? So it's
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's a fun fight. I don't know. I think Rich Walsh at home's gonna take it by decision. Who you got?
It's a tough fight for me. I mean, I agree with you. I think this is one of those fights that's kind of weird. Both of these guys are huge for the division. I mean, at 170. These guys actually probably would be well suited or healthier maybe at 185 maybe. Probably. But, I mean, they would fit right in at 185. They're not too small. They're not like Johnny Hendricks where they're too small for that division. I think they're the right size for that division. But, I mean, really, I mean, you look at what Richard Walsh has done, he's not really that guy to really beat well-rounded fighters.
True.
And that's, take a little grain of salt with that well-rounded fighter because his losses are Kichi Kunimoto and Alan Jouban, right? Yep. Both guys well-rounded but not refined. They're not the best of showing that they're well-rounded, but they're good. And I think that's the problem that we're going to see here. I think Andrade really has a really good and slick ground game that I think he's going to be able to utilize because Richard Walsh, although he makes it a dirty fight, he likes to use those takedowns. He likes to go up against the cage. He likes to make those, those dirty boxing type of fights. And I think that's going to cost him this fight. I think Andrade is going to be able to utilize, the cage work and the clinch work to take him down. And I think he's going to be able to submit him off his back or maybe just, sweep him and then submit him.
No, yeah, definitely. Um, Look, man, we'll see, man. I like watching him because he's at home. I'm a big believer in hometown team, but who knows?
Hey man, it can work both ways. I think who was it? Kenny Florin was saying that it could be a really good help and it could be a detriment because then you put a lot of extra pressure on yourself. You have all your fans, your
Right,
family, blah blah blah.
right.
Works both ways.
All right, moving on to the next fight here. It's a weird fight still. It's they're putting a midget in here to fight. I guess a regular sized person. So it's weird. Rin Nakai against Leslie Smith. We all remember Leslie Smith from getting her ear massacred by Jessica I, and then still wanting to fight, saying in Spanish in Mexico, trying to say she was like, I can still fight. I can still fight. I want to continue.
Yeah, no duele, no
That
duele.
shit was so funny. It doesn't hurt. I was like, what the fuck? Your ear is gone. We can see your brain. That's gotta fucking hurt. But look, she's a fucking warrior, man. I think she's part of that scrap pack over in with the
Yeah,
Melendez and all them. So it makes sense.
yeah,
But regardless, here's the thing about Rinda Kai. She is tiny. Her reach is awful. She might be strong as hell. Okay, I give her that. She's a strong chick. But and I've heard this said before by somebody else that Rinda Kai looked bad against Amisha Tate that looked bad. You know what I mean? So Misha Tate, did you remember that fight with Misha Tate against Nakai?
yeah. I remember
Okay.
that.
Misha looked awful, in my opinion. I think that was an awful fight by her. But Nakai looked worse. Okay. To me, she just looked worse. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't, the fact that she can't reach out and hit anybody, is enough. Now she is in there with a brawler, as we've seen Leslie Smith will brawl, and she doesn't care. She'll lose an ear and still try to fight. But I don't think she's gonna get hit very much by Nakai. I'm not sure how this fight's gonna go, man. I think I'm leaning towards picking Leslie Smith in this one by decision. Who you got?
Wow. It's I agree with you. It's kind of tough to pick Rinakai in this fight, but you got to look at the body of work, and obviously with a 7-6 record of Leslie Smith,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you are fighting good fighters, good chicks, but I mean that's a terrible record to have in the UFC. You got your ear blown off your last fight, you know. Um, and it wasn't that she was doing bad in that fight. It was just that she was just missing her defense. You know, she didn't have very good defense in that fight, and she just got blasted by it by Jessica Ai. Renda Kai, you're right. She's tiny, but you know she's stocky and she's strong. I think she's going to be able to get in on Leslie Smith, and I think she's going to be able to use what she's good at is her wrestling and her ground game. Her ground and pound, all that is where she does her best work. She couldn't do that on Misha Tate because Misha Tate was just she's a better wrestler, you know, just a better pure wrestler, as we saw in that fight where she won the title. You know, her wrestling is what won her that belt. And I think, I mean, honestly, come on, Rinna Khan, her first fight in the UFC, you throw her to the baddest
Misha
chick,
Tate.
the
Yeah.
number 2 chick in the division. Come on. I mean, you got to be some special chick to win that fight, and I mean, it just was too much for her all at once. I think we're going to get a better sense of where Rinnakai really is, and I honestly think it's going to be a good fight. I think Rinnakai is going to take this fight.
You think? Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see. I guess. But you're right. Yeah, that was kind of a dick move by the UFC. Here, he's Misha Tate. That's fucked up. Hey.
And it was on short notice, right?
Yeah,
I
it was
think
a
it
short
was,
notice.
right?
Yeah, I don't know who's supposed to
Yeah.
play, but they bailed. Real quick, Joker came on for a little bit. He had to run out, but he says this: "Don't forget to mention how Tate fingered Nakai's butt to win that fight." I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
Well, she did the oil check thing,
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
the
All right.
wrestling move. I mean, you know, it makes sense. Like you're a wrestler, that you know how to do those things. Those are, it's kind of a dirty tactic, but we've seen. I mean, you've seen other wrestlers like collegiate wrestlers do the same thing.
hmm
Like we've seen Daniel Cormier do the same thing. We've seen John Jones do the same thing where they reach over and they just put their hand in that position. You
Yep.
know, it's just a natural thing. When you've been wrestling for a while, it's just a natural place to put your hand because you know if something is not going your way and you can do that, you're gonna get a little bit of an edge there. So it's not a big deal to me, unless it stank. Her fingers stank afterwards, then that's a problem.
I wonder if she smelled them. That's kind of weird, right? I kind of want to go back and see if, like, in the corner, she just just really quickly took away from her. One of her coaches took her hand
She,
and
she,
smelled it.
she put it right in Brian Caraway's face,
Kara
just
was
so
like,
he could
I've
smell
seen
it.
this bitch on the internet. I've seen her on the internet. Give me that hand. That's fucked up. All right, next fight
Ah,
up,
poor Brian Caraway.
Dan. Fuck Baron Caraway. Until
Hey,
he
did you
fights.
see? Oh,
Oh, what?
hold on. Talking about that, did you see? What was it? Aljamain Sterling put that Happy Women's Day, and he put Brian Caraway in the mix.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Uh,
That was pretty good. I mean, look, I don't know how how Brian Caraway does that. I was gonna say Brian Tate. I don't know how he does that, where he's like, you know, just a punk. You know what I mean? Like your chick is like the champion, the bantamweight champion. Like you should have the balls to take a fight like Aljamain Sterling when he's not injured, or Thomas
okay.
Almeida, or somebody.
All right.
What?
Wait. But you also have to keep in mind that he's her main trainer, head trainer. Like
Is that
he
coach?
does everything for her. Yeah. So it makes sense that he didn't take a fight while she was getting ready for this fight.
Oh no,
Now,
for sure.
if he does, if for the next few months it just goes on and he doesn't take a fight and he doesn't take that Aljo fight,
Then
then
he's a
we have a
bitch.
problem.
Sorry.
Definitely. Then I agree with you. I agree with you. Then he's a bitch made fool that needs to really, step up his game and start taking these fights. But other than that, I mean, I'll give him a pass and I'll give him some credit of being the type of guy that even though he's in the shadow and lots of people crap on him, he's
He
still
handles it.
there making sure that his woman is fighting her fight and, having all the opportunity to win the championship as she did. So give him a little bit of credit for that. But now, if he doesn't take the fight now, then we've got a problem.
Yeah. So I mean, and Aljamain's been calling him out like a motherfucker. So
Yeah,
I want to see
yeah,
that
he
fight.
kind of can't deny that fight no more. He
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
run
yeah.
from that fight.
I mean, look, if he does, if he takes a fight with somebody else, it just looks real
Ugh,
bad, man. All
yep,
right. Next fight up, Dan the Hangman Hooker against Mark Adiba. So Philippines against New Zealand. Look, it's two guys that they're losing now. I think Mark has a two-fight losing streak, if I'm not mistaken, and Hooker has one.
yep,
He lost his last fight. Hooker lost his last fight. These guys are scrappers. They like to what's the expression? Throw leather or whatever. And they like to.
yep.
I think they're gonna be desperate enough to do that. Especially Mark. Mark needs a win. He loses this one, he's low enough on the totem pole to get cut, and you're gone. You know what I mean?
He's pretty lucky he hasn't been cut yet.
I thought he would have been by now, right? But
Hmm.
so he's desperate to win. Hooker doesn't want to be on a three-fight win streak or a two-fight win streak or loss streak, lose streak, whatever the fuck, a two-loss streak, whatever. And he don't want to be on that shit, right? So he's definitely gonna want to win this fight. So I think this is gonna be a good fight, just based off of that, the fact that these dudes want to win that badly. So I don't know who's gonna win it, but I'm leaning towards Dan Hooker win this fight. Who you got?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I mean, you look at the level of competition that both of these guys have had, and it kind of seems like Mark got thrown into the deep end without really knowing how to swim well enough to survive there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you look on the other side, Daniel Hooker, his last loss was to Yair Rodriguez, a
Yep.
guy that pretty much anybody that knows anything about fighting is excited to see every time he fights because he brings so many different attacks. He's so exciting. He does everything well, and he's just like he's a firecracker, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
his other loss was Maximo Blanco. So two guys that are pretty well known in the UFC in the division that are tough as hell. Now his wins are against Hatsu Hayoki and Ian Entwistle, two guys also that have lots of experience, have been in there before, and just got beat by this guy. So I'm thinking that the high level of competition proves that Daniel Hooker deserves to be here. Now Mark, he's got to show something in this fight. He's got to show something. And unfortunately, I think he's still going to end up taking a loss. But I think he'll learn that he needs to work on a couple things. Maybe go back to one of those regional circuits and really put together a better game before he comes back into the UFC. He has a future in the UFC, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown some just a pretty good skill set, just not as refined as we like it to be in the UFC. They're pretty high on the card, and I think the reason is because I think Joe Silva or Sean Shelby know that this fight's going to be fireworks. So get your beer ready, sit down and watch this fight because this one's going to be a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, I believe it as well. It's gonna be good. Now, real quick, I have to read this tweet from Don Manos hitting us up. Says he's talking about Rin Nakai. Says Rin looks like a laundry bag full with meat. Leslie should be able to weather the storm and get the decision. A laundry bag
Uh,
full with meat. I'm assuming that's some Oklahoma shit right there.
yeah, sounds like it.
All
Hey,
right.
did as promoters did we get done that fight against what was it? Not Tank Abbott, the other guy.
Oh fucking. Oh hey Don, you want to fight Dan Severn on literally like 5 minutes notice? Because that fight, I think that shit's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Thank Abbott, dude. Okay, if nobody, real quick, I'll make it short. There's a thing going down here in Phoenix, right? At the Celebrity Theater called You Are Fight. The main event is a grappling match between Michael Bisping and Chael Sonnen. In fact, the fucking weigh-ins are going on in like now I think over at a Dave and Buster's somewhere in Phoenix. So
Weigh-ins? There's weigh-ins for this?
exactly. You know why it gets crazy? The reason that it's stupid to have weigh-ins. Grappling match between Bisping and Sonnen. There's a pro
Right,
wrestling match between Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle. Why
right.
would you
The
weigh
guy
in?
that can't walk and can't move has a broken freaking neck.
Neck, back, everything's fucked on Kurt Angle. That guy's gonna be in a wheelchair or dead soon. Like for real, that's sad. I hate to say that about Kurt Angle, but still.
Yeah,
They have some guy won a contest to fight Roy Jones Jr. Have fun with
yeah.
that dude,
He
by the way.
bet, right? He bid for it or something.
It was like a bid or contest. It was a bid, I think, and he fucking won. All right. So I'm just like, hey, do you, man? But I think Roy's gonna fuck you up. And then there was supposed to be an MMA fight between Dan Severn and it was supposed to be Ken Shamrock, but Shamrock fought at Bellator and then got suspended and then caught with with shit in his system. Which, by the way, it's hilarious. You got kicked in the balls and he lost, and then you got busted for PEDs. Insult to injury. I love this story though. Anyway,
Well, it's because of his tiny little dick from using all the steroids. It's just much more sensitive.
yeah, when he got kicked, he's like, "No, my balls!" Like his voice just went super high. Fucking stupid.
Poor Ken Shamrock.
And so yeah, Ken Shamrock's out. They put in Tank Abbott. Tank Abbott can't pass a physical anymore, apparently. That's out. And so Dan Severn's like, well, I'm gonna show up. I'm 58 years old. I'm gonna show that that I can still. That I'm gonna show up and I still make weight and all this shit. And I'm like, Dan, dude, just why would you even bother? Just chill. And like the UR fight had the balls to say we're looking for a last minute replacement. What? What? You're gonna get a last minute replacement that Dan Severn's actually gonna agree to fight against? Go to any gym in Phoenix. There's three main ones. Okay, fucking Arizona Combat Sports, fucking the lab, MMA Lab, and Power MMA. And Power MMA guaranteed has at least 3 or 4 heavyweights that are not signed by anybody. Get one of those guys and then have Dan Severn
Yep.
say, how old is he? 20, 26? No, I'm not doing that. Fuck that. Because if you really want to find someone last minute, I guarantee you that they could make a phone call to any of those gyms and somebody will put their hand up to fight Dan Severn. For sure, someone will get to put their hand to fight Dan Severn. So, Don, we were saying we should put you in there against them, and you probably win. I really think he would. For real.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah,
All
definitely.
right. Anyway, for those that don't know, Don Manos trains. He trains, not UFC. He trains MMA and all that stuff, jiu-jitsu and everything. So, Muay Thai
And
and
if you call it UFC, please just kill yourself.
don't even bother showing up the next year, motherfucker. Just don't even make it to 2017, all right? Enjoy the last few months of your life in 2016.
Don't vote because I'm pretty sure you're
Oh,
probably voting for the wrong person anyway. So don't vote.
definitely don't. All right. Now that we're done shitting on probably half of our audience, moving on. The what do they call it? The feature prelim, Brandon O'Reilly, the Badger against the Alan Joban, the Brahma Bulls. Is that what he's talking about? You think?
Maybe. What is he? The Rock?
That's the first thing I thought when I read Brahma. I'm like, the Brahma Bulls, the Rock. That's what I remember. Anyway, so Joban's one of the bright stars of the UFC, except for his last fight where he got murdered by some Russian guy. I forgot his name, but actually let me pull that up real quick. But Joban's got skills, man. The dude can fight, and he's a freaking Abercrombie model and all this other shit. By the way, if you're a model and you're making a ton of money, why the hell would you want to fight?
Albert Tumanov. That's who
Oh,
beat him up.
Jesus, that's right. Dude fucked him up in the first round. I remember that.
Ooh,
So anyway,
busted that beautiful face.
oh yeah, for sure. Abercrombie, or his whoever's agent is, and all those other people were watching that fight, just like through fingers. It's like, please don't hit the face, So please just be a liver shot. We can
Yeah,
work
every
with
time
that.
he got punched in the face, they could just see that paycheck start like getting lower and
Dropping.
lower.
It was little like cash shots coming out of his ears every time he got punched in the face. Anyway, before he got massacred by Tumanov, he had a two-fight win streak. Matt Dwyer and Richard Walsh. Richard Walsh was on his card, and he knocked him out. So I like Joe Bond in this fight. I'll be honest, I don't know a shit ton about Brandon O'Reilly other than he's 1-1 in the UFC. I think he was on one of the tough series, if I'm not mistaken. I think maybe I'm wrong on that, but he's 1-1, lost to Lipeng Zhang, and a win over Vic Grujic, and people immediately just said who. So yeah. So I think Grujic was like 40 or 50 years old, something like that, like 40 some years old, I think. So I'm gonna go with Joe Bond more. Yeah, just more potential, I think. 2 inches taller, more potential. Trains over at Black House and does 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu. I like Joe Bond in this one. Who you got?
Yeah, I gotta agree. I mean, you look at the level of, again, another guy who the level of competition that he's had doesn't match his competitors' level of competition. Like you said, you mentioned the two people that he's fought in the UFC, Grujic and Zhang.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are gonna be like, who the hell is that?
Exactly.
Is that one person? Is that two people? Like, who the hell are they? And that's not to disrespect those two. It's just to say that they're not those firecracker, well-known, well-rounded fighters that people are excited to go see. And he's 1-1 against those guys. On the other hand, like you said, Alan Jouban, we've seen him rise in competition. He started fighting against Seth Basinski. Then he got a setback by Warley Alves. Then he had that really awesome elbow TKO. Brendan, what was it? Richard Walsh, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen him advance, and we've seen his skills get better and better as he's got going. We saw him take a brutal beating in that Tumanov fight that we were mentioning before. But even still, in that fight, even though he knew wholeheartedly from like the first couple exchanges that he was outgunned in that fight, he hung in there and he was firing back, and he was still trying to figure a way to really win that fight. So he's a tough dude. He doesn't give up. He adjusts his game plan, which is something I'd like to see in fighters. I hate to see fighters that just do one thing, and if it doesn't work, they just keep going for it. Because in their head, they're like, well, eventually I'll get it, and then that's how I'll win. I like to see fighters that, switch their game plan on the fly, really adjust their strategy. And to me, it seems like Alan Jouban is really, really smart in that sense. He's got a high IQ, a fight IQ. And I think that's what's going to win him this fight. Like I said, O'Reilly, unfortunately, still a new guy relative in the fight game. 7 fights overall. I think this is kind of almost a mismatch, and I think they might just be wanting to really promote Jouban a little bit better, get him started on another win streak and get him moving again. So I kind of think that's what they're going for here.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. And look, Joe Bond will be a great star. For example, we were talking about this I think before the show. And this is the weird thing about marketing, right? And you tell me what you think here. When we were talking about the girls that Bellator's signing, that Russian chick that's just drop dead gorgeous. We don't know if she can fight. She might be able to. Should be able to, hopefully. But she's just drop dead gorgeous, right? So you get good looking people to fight. People are gonna watch. I know Joe Bond becomes a big star in the UFC. Look at Sage Northcutt, blew up. Right? Strong, good-looking kid and everything. Joe Bond, same thing. He's a model. You know what I mean? You get him to be a star, that's marketing gold. The UFC would love that shit. For sure.
Paige Van Zandt.
Yep. You know who's not? Betch Kohea. I'm an asshole. Sorry. Anyway.
Well, if you're Nick's people, you're Nick. All over that.
Yeah, Nick was all on that ass.
Cyborg.
Now we're just assholes. All right. Let's move on to the main card. Real quick, go over the times here. We're about 2.5 hours away from the Fight Pass prelims. That's 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. FS1 prelims are 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, so about an hour, which is weird. I don't like to give 2 fights an hour to go through because they're not, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be if either of those fights finishes, it's going to be a long break for people. So you can actually probably drive to go buy a pizza.
Have you been in house for an event?
Yep.
The UFC event?
Long.
That's my favorite is when Bruce Buffer gets on the microphone And now it's time to go to the bathroom and get your
Yeah,
drinks.
yeah, yeah. He did that shit in the middle. It was in. I went to UFC
If you guys
on
haven't been
Fox.
to a live event, go
Go.
early just so you could like hear all the awesome, stupid stuff. Like it's a great time. Trust me, it's a great time to go early.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And don't start drinking till like the prelims start. All right. Like beforehand, you'll see a bunch of guys, a bunch of stupid shit. Um, During the prelims, you'll see a little bit more stupid, funny shit. But during the main card, nothing happens. They're just straight out. But
No.
there's this long ass pause, especially if you go to pay per view. And I haven't been to a pay per view event yet. I'm going to at some point, especially if Anderson comes back to the states one more time. But if like I went to UFC on Fox 13 and it was in Phoenix, and because of the commercials, and we knew it was because of the commercials and all that shit, the longest pauses ever. But I comfortably made it to the bathroom and back before we were even close to a fight. So you know, I guess you take what you can. But I also bought way too many beers just during the breaks. It was awful. It really was. I looked at I was just like, dude, I can't drive. I'm drunk. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, call an Uber. I'm not gonna make it. We'll come back tomorrow and get the car. Anyway, all right. Hitting the main card. Main card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. The ladies kicking it off in the strawweight division. Rowdy Beck Rawlings, and it's Seoi Ham. South Korea against Australia. Now, this is my take on this one. I like Ham. I like seeing her fight. The problem is that she's tiny. I think Rawlings has like 4 inches on her, which is quite a bit. Which is weird because her reach is only like 2 inches more than Ham, so it is what it is. But I like Ham. Ham is technical. Beck Rawlings is not. But she's tough as hell. She'll close the distance and she'll land some knees on her if she can get her in a clinch. So I think Ham's gonna have to try and avoid any kind of clinch with her. But the problem is also trying to get in there to land shots of her own. It's gonna be a weird fight, but I think it's gonna be a super close fight. Now I know with Walsh, I said because he's got the home court advantage and all that. I don't think it's gonna help Beck Rawlings. I think we're gonna see Ham get in there and win a split decision of sorts. What you got in this one?
Ah, man, it's a tough fight. I mean, I think what hurts me the most is knowing. See, this is the thing about watching fighters for a long time and really knowing their backstory is you start to get a soft spot for people, and then you start choosing from your heart instead of from your brain, which is where I'm coming from at this. Beck Rawlings, she's had a rough go at life.
Oh yeah,
Her
she
life
has.
has kind of been really, really you know how Joe Rogan says some people get like a shit roll of the dice? Well, she got that.
She got a big
Yeah,
shit roll of the dice. God damn. If you
yeah,
ever read a
yeah,
story like after this pre-fight show goes, just look up anything about her life, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. You'll become a fan just because you want her to finally get like a good win in life. And I agree with you. I think Ham has the skills to really win this fight. The only thing I don't like about Ham is the fact that pretty much I think all but one or two of her fights have gone the distance.
Yep.
She goes to decision. And the thing I like about Beck Rawlings is she goes for the finish. She goes and, tries to finish the fight. She puts herself out there. Even if she gets beaten, she gets, KO'd or whatever, she goes in there and tries to finish the fight. She's trying not to go to a decision. And I think that pressure might overwhelm Ham at some point. I also think that Ham is going to be able to, be able to keep her distance and all that stuff. Like you said, the height difference, the reach difference, it might come into play a little bit. And Beck Rawlings, we haven't seen her since what, almost a year, right?
It's been a long
Um,
time.
so
She
I,
keeps getting hurt.
so hopefully she's been working on her striking. Her striking it was okay. It was
Yeah.
decent enough for her to win some fights with her striking. But her ground game is where she likes to go with it. Her submissions.
Yep.
And I think she's going to be able to do that. She's going to be able to use her size difference and really weigh on him. And I think she's going to be able to pull this off, especially at home.
Mm.
Um, I really want her to win this fight. I just want her to have a really good win here. So I'm picking with my heart instead of with my head. Beck Rollins.
All right. And real quick, this is funny. Mike Jarvis on the YouTube saying, "I hope Ham fucks up Rawlings." I hope she fucks up Rawlings. Mike.
So aggressive.
It's not even that, dude. I think Rawlings just rolls people around. way. So that's just kind of what it is. Anyway, um,
You know what? I think a lot of people, if they don't know her story or they do know her story and then they watch that season of Tough that she was on, she
yeah,
didn't she didn't help herself out.
she didn't seem like
Most of the
herself.
chicks
Like,
on that season didn't help themselves out.
no, not at all, not at all. And the thing is, I don't think Rawlings is that much of a, kind of like she doesn't. I don't think she really is. Probably if you get to know her, she's not that much of a bitch as she came off in that fucking Tough season. Like, she
Mm.
came off as a bitch in that show. I'm like, man,
I thought the worst,
maybe it's editing.
yeah, probably, but I thought the worst one was that what's that one that calls her followers bitches and stuff, and she's the queen.
Fucking Magana, Angela Magana.
Oh, yeah, she's the worst.
Yeah, my
I hate her.
peasants. I'm like, what are
Oh,
you gonna
yes,
be
yes,
female
yes.
chael son in you bitch? What the fuck? Like, I'll say this though, if the pictures of her butt are actually her ass, good job. Keep on going with squats. Not bad. Other than that, shut the
Uh,
fuck up. Other than that, just shut up. No one wants to hear Magana talk. All right, that chael son and train, sail. You're not the chael son of the strawweights. You're just not. But she's also got she's got a, not, I don't know much of her story, but I know she has a kid. She's like a single mom and some of this stuff. So, you kind of root for people like that. But stop calling people peasants. It makes you sound like a cunt. Stop it. All right. Anyway, moving on. Now this fight should be pretty good. Not technical, but good. As in, people with the Just Bleed shit on their head should enjoy this one, I think. James Tahuna against Steve the Boss Boss. Now, if you guys know the story about Steve Boss, he's a hockey guy, right? Hockey enforcer.
hmm
He's the guy that went in there, started fights, went after the best player, tried to check him into the wall as hard as he could and all that. James Tahuna, we've seen fight. Now, people are saying, why is James still in the UFC? Because let's look at the guys that he fought. Maybe he lost to him, but he still fought some killers. Nate Marquardt, Shogun Rua, Glover Teixeira, those three in a row, right? Mind you, if he loses tonight,
hmm
that's over. You know what I mean? It is done. But he's a guy that comes to finish. He has a couple of decisions on his record I saw now, but it's hard not the decision against Ryan Jimmo, who just wants to hug you most of the time.
Oh, come on, the hippo? No, 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 no. That wasn't his name. He was the robot guy, right? When
The
he would
big
win,
deal,
he'd do the
the big
robot.
deal, Ryan Jimmo.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't fought since May of
No,
last year. He was
he got
bitching and
cut.
shit. He got cut?
hmm
Oh, good. Anyway, I heard he was doing a radio show out here in Arizona. I'm sure. I saw him at a World Series of Fighting event, and I heard someone say he was on radio in Arizona, and I'm like, why would you? Why would you? No. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? He's not. I mean, look. Mind you, talk to him for like 5 minutes. Decent guy, kind of a dick, but what professional athlete isn't kind of a dick, right? So, all right. But again, James Tahuna, beast mode. And Steve Boss, I'm not at all impressed by. I know he's 10-2 and everything. He lost his last fight against Thiago Santos, I think. But
hmm
if you look at the guys that he fought and the promotions that he fought for, I'm not surprised that he went out there and brawled with them and knocked them out. So I got Tahuna by knockout, second round probably, third round. Doesn't matter to me. He's gonna knock this dude out. Who you got?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Steve Bosse or whatever.
Yeah,
He seems like the ultimate tough guy. I mean, he seems to me like he's in the wrong generation of UFC. Like
yeah. If he
if
would
he
have
was
come
in
way
UFC
earlier.
1 or 2,
Mhm.
he would have fit right in. To me, he's that type of guy that you only become an enforcer because you like to beat the hell out of people, lose some teeth, really just bleed all over the ice and really make a scene. That's the type of guy that wants to be an enforcer, and that's what he was in hockey.
Mhm.
The guy that they would be like, oh hey, we're losing. Let's send out Steve over here to go, beat the hell out of some dudes and get us back into the game. That's all he does. Um, like you had mentioned before, James Tahuna. I mean, the people he's lost to are like none of those guys are people that you should win easily against. I mean, Shogun, uh, Teixeira, Marquardt. He even lost by submission to Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah, he did.
Um, my God, like for being a guy so young in the sport and throwing him in there like so soon against some of these guys. I mean, man, uh, it's just fortunate that we still have him with all of his like brain still intact to be able to fight still
Yeah.
because he's the type of guy that just goes out there, puts his chin there and just goes, "Hey, hit me. I'm gonna hit you until one of us goes down." And like you said, I mean, most of his fights are pretty exciting. They end one way or another. He likes to go out on his shield. His submission game is just awful.
Awful.
He gets submitted most of the time. If people can get him down, that's where they beat him. He has no threat of being submitted in this fight. I think it's just going to be a rock'em sock'em, fight, and I think we're going to get an exciting fight. Honestly, I think the problem is Tahuna's taken way too much damage for being 34, and I think that both of these guys, whoever hits the chin cleanly first, that person's going to win. And I think Tahuna has the slicker striking to be able to pull it off. But if he gets touched by Bossy, he might go to sleep too. So watch this fight. Don't blink. It might end very quickly.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it ends in Tahuna's favor, man. And again, he's a guy that shows up to fight. Like that's one thing about Tahuna. He shows up to fight. Just like you said, Rock'em Sock'em. Like either you're going down or I'm going down, but somebody going down, and we're both gonna get paid, and hopefully there's a bonus in there somewhere. All right. Next fight up here, Daniel Kelly against Antonio Carlos Jr., a.k.a. Cara Zapato. Carlos Jr. was actually on the I think he won Tough Brazil. One of the Tough Brazils, right?
I think so, yeah.
Pretty sure he won. I don't know, there's too many toughs, man. You can't remember shit.
I hope he won because he's the one getting the push, so
I hope he won. Push. Vitor Miranda deserves a push, and he ain't getting very much. This guy's getting pushed, so. Anyway, so Daniel Kelly against Cara Zapato. I'm not even going to go into what each guy does because I really truly believe Carlos Jr. is in every way, shape, or form better than Daniel Kelly. And maybe we could debate that, but I don't think Daniel Kelly has enough to beat him. I mean, he goes to the ground. Carlos Jr.'s jiu-jitsu is legit, and then Carlos Jr.'s stand-up game is really good. So. Okay, maybe not really good, better than most people. He's not a top 5 guy, but he's definitely, I think, better than Daniel Kelly. So I got Junior by TKO probably. 3rd round, let's say. I think Daniel Kelly's a tough guy. He could last that long. Who you got?
All right. Just to do a pick for tattoos here, like John Anik here.
No, we're not doing that. You really think Daniel Kelly's going to win?
Okay. I don't think that I'm not locking in that Daniel Kelly is going to win, but I see ways that he can win. The only problem I see with Daniel Kelly at this point is his age. He's fighting against time. Mm-hmm. He's not fighting against his opponents at this point. He's fighting against time. 38 years old, on the verge of being 39. I sincerely don't like the fact that he's so old. That's the only thing that makes me hesitant to pick him. Look at all the fights that he's had. Patrick Walsh, just go down the list of all the people that he's fought. Steve Montgomery, another guy that's a pretty good fighter. The only loss that he has so far on his record was Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey, when he was hot, when he was knocking dudes out, smiling. That's the only loss that he has on his record as of right now. I think this is actually going to be a much closer fight than most people think. And again, I just want Dan Kelly to show us Taekwondo skills that he has. He's an Olympic caliber Taekwondo guy. I believe it's Taekwondo. He's a former Olympic guy. He's got skills. He's got abilities. He's fallen in love with his hands way too much. And I just want him to go back to what got him to the show. And really, I think he'd be able to manhandle Antonio Carlos Jr. in that sense if he goes back to his old ways. Now, if he's just going to stand and strike, Carlos Jr. has good striking, good power, and he's got great footwork. His footwork for such a big guy is actually very, very uncharacteristic. It's almost kind of weird. It's almost kind of like seeing a lighter version of Dos Santos, Junior Dos Santos. Mm-hmm. When you see Junior Dos Santos fight before, not anymore, because he's taking way too many hits. At this point, he doesn't move as he used to. But when he first got into the UFC, his footwork was so good. That's what won him those fights, and that's what set up those big shots. And that's what Carlos Jr. has. That's what he has in this fight. He has that slick footwork to be able to really, move around and deal with what Daniel Kelly can give him. If this turns into a just slugfest, it's not going to go in Dan Kelly's favor. But if Dan Kelly is smart, uses his background, I think it's Taekwondo. Can you check on that? I'm pretty sure it was Taekwondo.
I think Mike Jarve says it's judoka.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
Judoka. Yeah, that's right.
Time 5 says I think Kelly's a judo guy. Yeah, you're right. He's a judoka.
Yeah. Yeah. He is an Olympic caliber judo guy. So I mean, if he can implement that stuff, I mean, come on, you don't get to the Olympics being a chump, you know. If he uses that judo skills, he can really, be a force in the UFC for the year or year and a half that he has left to fight. But other than that, I mean, it's going to be a close fight. Watch this fight. I think it should be a very, very interesting fight. I'm going to give the slight edge to Carlos Jr., but I don't think it's a lock as you were saying.
Okay. Oh, I think it's a lock, so we'll see. But yeah. Look, and again, I forgot to mention it, but you're right on the father time part. 38 years old, like he's got miles from judo, he's got miles from life, he's got miles from MMA now. So that it's gonna catch up to him. And Carlos Jr., like you said, is getting that push. So they gave him Junior this fight, kind of in order to give him just another win. I think not give it to him, but give him a chance at another win. But look, yeah. If Daniel Kelly throws a party, I won't be mad.
And it's so high on the card. It's what, like the fourth fight down from the top. So I mean, they're expecting something good to come from this fight. Either Dan Kelly to really rise to the occasion and in front of his home crowd, or Carlos Jr. to really show something that we've kind of seen bits and pieces of in his last fights. And hopefully he'll like shine completely and show all his skills in this fight too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, next fight up, a fight that a lot of people are actually excited about, Jake Matthews, the Celtic kid, yeah, from Australia, against the American Johnny Hollywood Case. Now, here's the thing about this fight. Jake Matthews is like 20, 21. He was a kid on the Tough Show, I think. I think he's 21, and he's 10-1 10-1 professional. He has a lot of potential, right? But the only
is that UFC numbers?
That's UFC numbers. What do they have on the other one?
9-1. Okay,
so he lost it. That James Vick loss was huge. When he lost to James Vick, like he had a bunch of hype. He had only won 2 fights against Deshaun Johnson and Wagner Rocha, and there have been submission wins. And then to get submitted by James Vick was huge. And then came back and TKO'd Akbar Arreola, but that was a dock stoppage, second round, I think. So. Yeah, dude, I like Jake Matthews. I think he has a shit ton of potential. What I don't like is his footwork. I don't think most of it. Look, people can disagree with me if they want. And if you think I'm wrong, you should disagree with me. But it's his striking is not refined. You know what I mean? Like, this is my opinion. I haven't seen him do any striking refined, and it has to be with that immaturity. Mind you, for 21 years old, he's pretty ahead of the curve. Now. He's fighting a guy in Johnny Case who is a striker. He's 12 knockouts on his record, something like that. And he's
a lot.
Yeah, and he can handle himself on the ground, and he's 26 years old. All right, dude he's just good. Now I think it's gonna be a harder fight for Matthews. You know what I mean? But I think Matthews is gonna rise to the occasion at home and win this one by probably like a split decision, man. But I really hope he worked on his footwork and his head movement, because Jake Matthews, I guess the guy like Case, if he tries to keep it on the feet, which he probably will, try to keep it on the feet for some reason, it could be a long day for Jake. But I'm picking Jake by decision in this one. Honestly, mostly because I hope he wins. Really, I really do. I like this kid. But if Case beats him, man, I'm not surprised whatsoever. Who you got?
I gotta agree with you. I think Matthews. He's young, and I think that's what we see. I think he just needs to really grind away at getting better at his technique, because his results are there. He gets the result that he wants. Only one time in his career has he not gotten the result that he's wanted. But other than that, like, he gets where he needs to be, which is winning. I think the problem is that he's going to run into this fight still going on the fact that he's winning fights without refining his technique, and I think this might be the fight that shows him the the good thing about refining technique and learning the proper basic steps. Like you said, Johnny Case, he can bang. He can bang. He likes to bang. And I think that's what we're going to see in this fight. I think it's just going to be two guys throwing leather, one's a bit sloppier than the other. It just depends on how well Jake Matthews adjusts to the pressure and the boxing and just everything that Johnny Case is going to bring to the fight. You look at Johnny Case at this point, what is he on, like a 12, 13 fight win streak?
Johnny Case is on a long ass win streak. But UFC only 4-0.
12.
UFC.
Yeah, 12 up until, even being in the, and his last loss was against Rick Glenn, a guy that if a lot of people know, he's actually kind of a big deal outside of the UFC. Having gotten those signature wins.
The Gladiator, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
doesn't have those signature wins, but he's still one of those guys that when you put him against somebody, it's a true test of their potential, of their abilities. And again, you look at just everything put together. To me, I think Johnny Case is going to be able to win this fight very handily. But I think it's going to be a learning experience for Jake Matthews in this fight. If he can pull off the win, I think it might be actually a bad thing for him, because he really needs to refine a lot of those things to really get to that next level. I really think that's what's going to be helpful to him to really improve. Kind of like what we were talking about the fight earlier, Alan Jouban. After he took that Tumenov loss, I mean, I've seen and I've heard rumblings that he's really stepped up his training to a whole different level because he knows where his faults were and, he learned from that. So, I mean, I think Johnny Case is going to win this fight. I'm rooting for Matthews, but I think it'd be better if he took this loss and really learned something from this fight.
Yeah, when you put it that way, that makes sense, right? If he loses, like, look, honestly, this is kind of when you put it that way, this is kind of like a win-win kind of for Matthews. I mean, he wins, he gets more push. Honestly, they're gonna push him a little bit, right?
Yeah.
He loses, he's gonna get to improve. He's gonna have put a big wall of adversity in front of him. He's gonna have to challenge himself to whether, either I'm gonna get over it or I'm not. And I'll either rise to the occasion next fight, or I'm just going to be, middle of the pack MMA fighter like a lot of the guys on the roster. So, Mike Jars on the YouTube saying Jake has a lot of potential, and he's only 21. Yep, I agree, and I think he's going to get better. I really do think, even if he loses and that's and everything, he'll get better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Right now is the perfect time for him to take this fight, get in there, and if he loses, it's fine because he's still 21 years old. He's still got lots of time to get better. And taking these fights, these very, very high level fights, it's going to show him exactly what he needs to do to get to that level and surpass that level. So it's better he takes these fights and takes these losses now than later on in his career when he's taken way too much damage and not being able to make those changes in his game plan.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, moving on to another fight with a midget in it, and only a midget compared to his opponent, but. It's interesting, right? Super interesting to see the return of Hector Lombard. Now, Hector Lombard's last fight was it? Now we're talking about Josh Bergman getting lucky. I believe he beat Josh Bergman, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because it got overturned because he tested positive for some shit. What was it?
PEDs.
Whatever it was. He was tested for some shit. So he's been gone for a little over a year. So now he comes back tonight. And, first fight back, he gets Neil Magny. Now, let's look at the names that Lombard has fought and beat. He came in and knocked out Husama Parharas. He knocked him out in the first round, right? And knocked out Nate Marquardt, and decision win over Jake Shields. And then, after that, the Bergman fight, which I think he won, and it got overturned for the PD thing. Fighting against Neil Magny, who you could say has quite a bit of momentum on him, right? He got beat by Damian Maia. But the Eric Silva win and Kelvin Gastelum win shows he's got a little something in as far as like potential, as far as being able to win fights. Mind you, those were split decisions. They weren't. He didn't dominate. He didn't finish them. Right. So, but I think to me that the key in this fight is what does Lombard look like now that he's supposed to be clean. Right.
Right.
And I think if he really is clean, I think we're gonna see him get exposed. I think we're gonna see Neil Magny strangle him. I think it'll be like a first or second round strangle by Neil Magny.
Wow.
Who you got?
Yeah, I had to look it up real quick. I was gonna say the wrong thing
Hmm.
actually. I had thought that it was like HGH or one of those like very, very like designer drugs, but it
Yeah.
was actually a designer steroid that he popped for. It was and the thing was that it was a very one of those like rare expensive ones that like low not any low level athlete is gonna take. This is like some high level stuff.
Hmm.
And I remember distinctly thinking about it, like, man, this dude, yeah, he has the money, he has the backing to, be one of those guys, Derek Jeter type gummy worms that like, have like the super steroid in it or whatever. Was
Hmm.
it Derek Jeter or one of those guys? Anyway,
Alexander, I think
you know,
Rodriguez, right? A-Rod?
yeah, I think it might have been
Probably
A-Rod.
A-Rod.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Um,
Baseball sucks. Go ahead.
again, it's those guys that have the huge amount of money behind them that are able to do this stuff. Now, how long he's been doing this for, we don't know. What the difference is in his mental game, in his whole physical game. I didn't see the weigh-ins. How did he look at the weigh-ins? Did he still look as
And
big?
and Mike made that point, and now that I think about it, I remember that Mike Jarvis on YouTube saying Lombard looks small. What do you guys think? I agree. He looks smaller than he usually does. He usually looks like
Okay.
such a giant man where you're like, how do you make weight? I even said it still. He still has his build on him and muscle, but he doesn't look as big as he used to.
I think that might actually be a good thing because before all his fights, he was always holding back,
Yeah.
and because of he's so big, he knew that he couldn't explode for a long period of time. He could only do a little bit at a time, and because he was carrying so much mass, I think now he's dropped a little bit of probably dropped a bit of muscle off of him. Got leaner, so I think it might be actually good for him. I just have to see this fight go down. Honestly, this is the fight I really am excited to see because I think we're going to get to see what this new regulatory thing is going to do to these high level cheaters. I mean, that's really what he was. He was a cheater, right? He was using some
Yeah.
high level steroid to cheat
Yeah.
that the low level fighters aren't going to know about or won't even know how to get probably. But now we get to see what these guys are going to do as natural, as close to natural as possible. And I think this is going to be a very, very telling sign of how Hector Lombard, as a natural athlete, is going to perform. I really don't think that Neil Magny is going to be able to overwhelm him with power. I don't think
Okay.
he's going to be
Not
able to
with
get him
power,
down
no.
because I don't think he's going to be able to get him down because Hector Lombard's defense, takedown defense, is pretty good.
It's
I
actually
mean,
pretty good. Yeah.
even when he was a not strike force, Bellator champion, he rarely went to the ground, and if he was, it was on his terms. He dictates the fight most of the time, and I think it's just going to be a mental game at this point. I'm pretty sure this whole time he's been training, getting himself in shape. It's going to be the mental aspect. Is Hector Lombard mentally ready to step in there without that crutch in his pocket of the drugs, the added extra boost that he has in his back pocket? If he's able to do that, I think it's going to be a bad night for Neil Magny. I like Neil Magny, but to me, it's the level of competition that Neil Magny, everybody is so hyped about his 7 fight win streak. Oh my God, he's so good. It's so hard to get 7 fights in a row or
Hmm.
6 fights. He didn't fight anybody that was very impressive in those 7 fights.
Yeah.
And when he went up against Damian Maya, he got destroyed.
Oh, dude.
His
Whoa.
his only really good win in my opinion are two. The Tim Means one,
Yep.
because at that point Tim Means was really good, and then his most recent one against Kelvin Gastelum, which Kelvin Gastelum, you weren't ready for that fight, bro. You
No, I
weren't ready
wasn't
for
ready.
that fight.
I was coming off the
But I
tacos
mean,
and tequila night.
he showed a lot of grit and heart in that fight, and he showed that he's able to dictate and dominate the fight. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Hector Lombard. I think Lombard's going to take this fight, but I still have to see this fight and how it looks. I just put an asterisk on my little pick there because that's my out. I just have to see how he looks and how he performs and how his new little engine in this body is going to perform because now he doesn't have that extra nitro boost that he used to have. So we'll see how it goes. But I still think Hector Lombard has the skills to win. It's that mental game that has me questioning how that's going to go for him.
No, yeah, definitely. But and again, and that's kind of why I'm picking Neil Magny. I think now that he doesn't have that crutch, he's gonna have the question in the back of his head. I think if he doesn't come out in the first round and fight like he used to or better, he's gonna be like, oh shit, the second round, Neil's
Wait,
gonna
wait,
get
wait.
me.
Okay, hold on though.
What?
How did he used to fight?
He
See,
was
I
a
think
hard
that's what
hitter. He's
people
a heavy hitter
don't
guy.
remember. Heavy hitter, but what would he always do? He would just stand flat-footed,
Yeah.
walk around a little bit, minimum movement. So if people see him do the same thing, people are going to go freak out. Oh my God, look at him. He's not moving. He's not doing. That's his
That's what he
style.
always does.
His
Yeah.
style is wait till his opponent comes in and he hits you.
Take it
Boom,
slow.
hits you once and you're done. I want to see how many of those hard hits he's going to throw before he's completely gassed. Because before he'd be in the second round and his arms would start going down. He'd shake him out a little bit, put him back up for his defense. It took a lot longer. We'll see if now it takes less time for him to gas out.
All right. Well, we'll see, man. I don't know. But like I tell you what, if he wins that fight, it's a big F you to everybody for shitting on him for the steroid thing, even though they should shit on him, but still. But if Neil
Hey
Magny
man,
wins, what?
steroids don't help you that much. I mean, ask Kimbo and ask Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Kimbo wins the fight or wins the fight, and then he pops for steroids. Ken Shamrock gets kicked in the nuts, pop for steroids. Really, what the fuck? Like, you can't write it. You can't write it better. Bellator's got the best circuits in town. They really do. They have the best circus ever. So, I'm just surprised Hoist Gracie didn't get caught with some shit. Like, I for sure thought that Hoist Gracie would have tested positive too, but it didn't. Apparently
Really?
didn't. I really thought he would.
I think he learned his lesson.
Yeah, let's just look like an 80-year-old man and throw a couple kicks, nutshot somebody, and win. All right. You know what I'm saying? That's where they came up with all those fake ass self defense systems that they used to put on late night TV. You know what I mean? It's like all you
Yeah,
gotta
I
do is
know,
kick him in the
right?
balls. That's what he used. He used ball nut, like he used nut shot and won the fight. So anyway, as moving to the main event, Mark Hunt against former heavyweight champ Frank Mir. I almost forgot. Mark Hunt actually fought for the title on last minute replacement when King
And got kneed in the face and put down.
put down hard. I felt bad for him, but still, I don't think he was going to win that fight even if he had been training. I really don't. I think that weight cut fucked with him. But anyway, here's a stat that gets me. Now Mark Hunt, we know him as the walk-off guy, right? TKO'd Antonio Silva. Walk-off knockout against Roy Nelson. Knockout of Stephen Struve, knockout of Trick Congo, so on and so forth. The epic fight against Bigfoot Silva the first time, where it was just an epic fight, and Silva had to ruin it by having too much TRT in the system. And then it got called. Well, it was a draw anyway, right? But still, sucks that it has this asterisk on it. And here's a stat to me about Mark Hunt that I think could possibly be the story of this thing of this fight. 6 submission losses, no submission wins. Right? He's gotten subbed. Meanwhile, Frank Mir, possibly best jiu-jitsu practitioner at the heavyweight division. Probably. I mean, who's better? You know what I mean? He is coming off the boring-ass fight against Andrei Arlovsky. And
Brock
before that,
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Brock Lesnar. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why the fuck? That fight was years ago, dude. He's had a shit ton of fights since then. But, yeah. But regardless, it's people saying it's a Styles fight. People are saying that Frank Mir's not going to have the balls to stay with Mark Hunt. First of all, yes, he is going to have the balls to stay with Mark Hunt. But for how long? Who knows? Because if Mark Hunt lands a shot on you, you're probably going to sleep. Here's where I think Frank Mir has an advantage is that his footwork is probably better than Mark Hunt's. Mark Hunt's too heavy to fucking move. You know what I mean? Last time we saw Frank Mir, he was actually trying to move. What was that fight against Duffy and the fight against Bigfoot Silva? Especially the one against Bigfoot Silva.
God, that Duffy fight. Woo.
Yeah, he made Todd Duffy went retarded for a second after he hit him. He's like, yeah, and he's dropped. So, but it shows that his striking has improved. But here's a point Mir made, and this is where I think people are picking Hunt. I get it. I'm picking Mir in this fight, but you don't know what he's gonna do in the fight now. You don't know what he's gonna do, right? He could come out and try to stand with you. Obviously, in this fight, I think it would help him to try and get the fight to the ground somehow, even though Mark Hunt can be kind of a bitch to take down, although, yeah, Stipe Miocic, not that tough. But I think it's going to be look, man, I'm going to take the same thing you said about the what was the fight that you said it could be boring, it could be great. The Silva Hall fight. This could be a really good fight. or this could be Andre Arlovski, Frank Mir 2. You know what I mean? But
Yikes.
I don't think Mark Hunt's gonna let that happen. I think Mark Hunt's a guy that's gonna be at home and ready to fucking drop someone's ass. So I'm still taking Mir, which tells you exactly what I think is gonna happen in that fight. I don't think it's gonna be very entertaining. But if Mark Hunt wins by knockout, I'm gonna be the happiest person that was wrong. Okay, I'll be the happiest person. I'll happily be like, fuck yes, I was wrong, and I'm happy about it. All right. So who you got in this fight?
Okay. Bear with me here. All right.
All right.
I think that Frank Mir is one of the smartest dudes out there
Yep.
for analyzing fights. Sometimes he can be kind of a dummy in his own fights, and he doesn't take his own advice. My thing, though, listening to what he's been kind of putting out there for this fight, that he's going to go straight for Mark Hunt's leg, break his ankle, and get out of there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what he's going to do. I think Frank Mir has fallen in love with throwing some hands and wants to get better at his striking because he still thinks that he can go for a title contention. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem in the sense that I don't think he has enough pop to put down Mark Hunt.
No.
And I don't think that he has enough chin to withstand a couple of those pops from Mark Hunt. Now, the only thing that really worries me about this fight is Mark Hunt's chin. He's been touched up way too many times. I really think that now is the time to really catch Mark Hunt and really test him on the feet because I think his chin is kind of going. It's going. If not, it might be gone at this point. The damage he took from Dos Santos when he eventually got wheel kicked in the head and put down, the damage he took from Fabricio Werdum. What was that?
That was like the weakest wheel kick ever, too, right?
Exactly.
The weakest shit
Exactly.
ever.
Think about that.
Yeah,
Think about that.
You got me thinking, man, fucking shit.
A guy that legendarily had the toughest chin, was hard to put down with a wheel kick from like that a little schoolgirl could have thrown harder, put him down. The knees that Verdum hit him with, though hard,
Yep.
still, before in his career, he would have ate those and would have kept going.
Yeah.
The way Stipe put him away really worries me about his chin. I mean, even in the fight against Roy Nelson, even though he won that fight, Roy Nelson touched him up a bit and kind of wobbled him a couple times.
Mhm.
And so it worries me that Mark Hunt's chin has been kind of declining for a while. He didn't really get touched up at all by Bigfoot Silva to really test that theory for myself. But I think Frank Mir is the guy that's going to be able to really test that chin. The thing is, though, we've seen Frank Mir, and I've seen it live, man. He gets hit, and he gets that drunken, like, wobble to him, and it's kind of over at that point. Like, he kind of falls apart after that. So, I mean, he if he really wants to outstrike Mark Hunt, and test his chin, he's, like you said, he's got to use that good footwork that he's been working on, really work on just that striking game that it's looking like it's coming along. But it's kind of dangerous to really trot this out there at this point, right? I was thinking about this fight, and I was like, okay, so Frank Mir has two tools right now. A really, really brand new shiny hammer, which is his striking, and that old multi-tool, like Swiss Army knife thing that he has. If he polishes off that a little bit, comes in with some takedowns, threatens the takedowns, and then sets up his striking, that's going to be his best bet to win this fight. I really want Frank Mir to win this fight, and I'm picking him, but I'm just afraid that we might see Mark Hunt, with another epic walk-off knockout. That being said, I think Frank Mir gets on another run here. That Arlovski fight was crap, and I think he's going to be able to bounce back.
All right. A couple comments here on the YouTube. First of all, my boy Fang says Mir will sub Hunt. I actually believe that. I actually believe in that. Like, he doesn't believe what he's saying. He's telling so. Mike Jar says Hunt's gonna come out trying to finish Mir right away and be over aggressive and get taken down by Mir and submitted. Just a theory. Time 5 says agreed. Mir should know better than to stand with Hunt, but he will anyway. Mike says, don't know if I believe it, but why the hell, why not? And basically It's like we're picking Mir, but we're not.
We all know what could happen in this fight.
Oh yeah,
We all
yeah.
know Mark Hunt hits like a Mack truck, dude. Like he hits people, and it's like most of those guys look like they are rethinking their entire life with one of those shots. Well, the ones that survived that first shot, right? Most of
Mhm.
them are like, "Oh my God, I need to get out of here. I don't want to get hit again by that thing." Or the other ones just fall down and they're out. You know. But like I said, if you look at his recent fights, Mark Hunt's chin hasn't been there, man. And I don't know
Mhm.
if it's just his conditioning's not there, or he's just taking way too many shots, or what. But I think if Frank Mir can really keep him guessing and get his hands like down and really clip him, I think we could see one of those crazy Frank Mir knockouts that is so rare. I mean, what does he have? He has like 4 or 5 of them on his record.
Yeah, yeah, I know, man. All right. Well, hey, look, it's gonna be a hell of a card. This is one of those cards that we were saying earlier that could end up being really good. People were looking at it like, but you were saying it's like low key, real good card. So, I
Yeah.
hope it delivers. Now, let's talk about a couple things here. I just want to bring up real quick. Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Patrick Cote, targeted for June in Canada. What do you think of that fight?
Zam.
Yup, crazy.
Um, Patrick Cote, the Predator. I mean, that dude. What else does he need to do, man? That poor guy. Like they have him fighting everybody.
Hmm.
um, Cowboy. I think that's kind of a mismatch for Cowboy. I think Cowboy should get another fight at 170. Um, a lower rank guy. Not to be a dick, but I mean he's really got to test himself at 170 better. Especially after seeing what happened to Connor and just jumping into 170 just like that, you can't do it. I think he needs to pump the brakes a little bit. I think Cote has enough pop in his punch to put him out, and I think that might put an end to Cowboys' 170 run.
Yeah, yeah. He might just be like, fuck it, I'm going back to lightweight. Hopefully RDA gets beat soon or something. Um, Another fight here. Cody Garbrandt, Cody No Love against Thomas Almeida, who might be the scariest motherfucker at 135 pounds right now, being targeted for May 29th UFC Fight Night event. That's going to be a hell of a fight, I think. What do you think?
Scariest, really?
Thomas Almeida's a scary motherfucker, dude. You see what he's been doing?
Yeah, but scariest
Who's scarier
at
than
that
him right
division?
now at 130? Okay, besides Cruz, who's scarier than him?
Oh, okay, okay. That's
Yeah,
what I was going for.
yeah.
I
Besides
mean,
Cruz,
Cruz is scary because you're gonna
Cruz.
be throwing and you're just gonna be hitting air and he's gonna be popping you and you're gonna be like, what the hell? These don't hurt, but I'm getting hit.
Dude, and TJ got so frustrated that he couldn't land that shit, dude. And it wasn't
Yeah.
like it's like swing and a miss. It was like you were missing him by that much. Like Cruz is that good at moving around. It's so fucking crazy.
Well, that's
Um,
what Connor was doing in that fight against Diaz. He was making
yeah,
him miss by very little, and then eventually Diaz got his range and just started popping him. But that fight, man, that should be a good fight. Thomas Almeida, yeah, you're right. I mean, that dude
yeah,
is a monster. I mean, I think what he's on what like a 2 fight, 3 fight win streak. I think this
yeah.
fight should determine whether he gets the next title shot over TJ. I think TJ needs to go back to the drawing board, and think up of a different strategy instead of just trying to mimic what Cruz was doing. I think he needs to find his own style, find that power shot that he loves to throw and how to really land it instead of just swinging at air and just keep trying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, definitely. Did you I remember when Cruz came out in the fight against TJ and the music was that nobody does it better. I mean,
Yeah.
the part of the lyrics of that song is that basically saying you can copy me, but originals you'll never be. Basically saying like, hey TJ, I know you try to copy me, man, but you ain't good enough to beat the original. So I thought that was awesome. I hope he keeps that shit going. I really do. All right, well that's gonna be it for us today. Everybody enjoy the fights. We're a little over an hour and a half before the first prelims begin, which is 2 fights. And I lost the page real quick. Hold up, I'll give you guys the times real quick. Again, UFC early prelims on Fight Pass, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. FS1 prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And the main card begins at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Kick back, get your buddies to go, come over to your house. Everyone throw in for pizza and beer, and have a hell of a Saturday, man, because there are some good fights on this card. So you can follow me at Ela31, follow Jesse at Spawat1983, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. All right? Thanks for tuning in.
Peace
See you guys
out.
later. Peace.